A few months ago, I made a video about a handful of enemies in the Pikmin franchise that, well, really annoyed me. The thing is, that doesn't even scratch the surface of just how many unique creatures they have on Planet 404. And with another game on the way, the bestiary is getting even bigger. So this time around, I thought I would do something a bit more positive and talk about some of the enemies that I actually really like. Ones that highlight the strengths of the game as opposed to their weaknesses, and believe you me, there's a lot of strengths. The stories in these games aren't the most complicated in the world, but the world building is immaculate. Obviously the game takes a lot of inspiration from nature, I mean that's the whole theme. None of the areas you visit feel like just levels, they're ecosystems and biomes teeming with wildlife, and the enemies in these areas reflect that. Most of them are trying to kill you. It wouldn't be a very hard game if it was just all skitterleafs and wall pulls, prey animals. But the game throws in little details and behaviors in its enemies that really sell you on the fact that at the end of the day, these are wild animals acting on instinct. Look no further than the dwarf Bulborb. An unremarkable looking creature, you slaughter these things by the thousands and don't even care because they're essentially the rats of the Pikmin universe. But the reason I'm talking about them isn't because of their design, it's because of the complex relationship they share with their larger counterpart. The regular Bulborb, the spotty Bulborb, the red Bulborb, whatever you want to call it, let's just say it's the bigger one. The dwarf can be spotted in small packs, occasionally with a regular Bulborb close by. If you startle one or kill it, it lets out a shriek which wakes up the bigger one, alerting it to your presence. Already we're communicating a lot to the player. These creatures are communal. They hunt together, and the big Bulborb clearly possesses some form of maternal instinct, springing to action when she hears that her offspring are in peril. Already, this sets them apart from your garden variety Chain Chomp or Waddle Dee. There's more to them. There's more going on under the hood. But when you actually read the Piklopedia in Pikmin 2, things get much deeper. You see, it may come as a shock to new players, but the Pikmin community knows all too well that the dwarf Bulborb is not a juvenile Bulborb. It's not even a Bulborb. It's not even in the same family. It is not a grub dog. Instead, it is part of the Breadbug family. Now, what's the Breadbug family? Well, these little uncircumcised Philistines right here, they're a fan favorite. Most members of the Breadbug family are scavengers, carrying food back to its nest for later consumption. But many species have evolved to mimic both the appearance and behavior of the Bulborb. This behavior not only saves them from being viewed as prey by the Bulborb, it also grants them protection from other predators. Mimicry is a common behavior in nature used by all sorts of wildlife for all sorts of reasons. Prey animals mimic predators for protection. Predators mimic more docile species in order to get closer to prey. Some bugs mimic sticks and leaves for camouflage. There are even species of parasitic birds that lay their eggs in other species' nests in the hopes that the mother will take care of them. And when the young hatch, the parasites look identical to the mother's babies. They didn't need to go this far. They didn't need to do this. The developers did not need to delve into the biology of what is essentially the Goomba of the Pikmin series, but they did it anyway, and that's the reason why I love this series so much. Of course, not every enemy has a deep, complex reason behind why I decided to talk about it. Some of them just look really cool.
I just think they're neat.
Like the pyroclasmic slooch. Almost abstract in nature, it looks like the inside of a lava lamp came to life. And the way its leaf-like tongue does a 360 across its mouth, almost to imply its head and jaw are disconnected from one another, kind of reminds me of the Harlequin demon from Nightmare Before Christmas. And if a creature can get half as interesting as any of the designs from that movie, then it's deserving of praise in my book. The peckish aristocrab is another enemy that just tickles my fancy. It's a crab and an onion. What's not to love? I mean, me and onions, we kind of go way back. There's a reason why I'm writing a webcomic about an onion who punches people. And while there are tons of crustaceous designs in the Pikmin franchise, it's cool that Pikmin 3 finally gave us a creature that is distinctly, wholly crab. A fiddler crab, to be precise. Hell, this guy even got into Smash Bros. As a stage hazard. The Puffstool is interesting in and of itself. A bumbling mushroom creature waddling on two legs, tripping over itself like the Queen of Hearts trying to play croquet. But make no mistake, just because you can actually push it over doesn't make it a pushover. Much like the parasitic cordyceps mushrooms found in nature, this creature can infect your Pikmin with parasitic spores, and create what is essentially the Pikmin universe equivalent of a zombie. It was The Last of Us before The Last of Us. I mean, I've never played The Last of Us, but I assume this is exactly what it's like. These little guys are actually the reason I'm talking about the Puffstool to begin with. The mushroom Pikmin, or Puffmin, are completely useless. As a matter of fact, they attack you and your Pikmin. But they look so cool. The idea of a Pikmin that is also a mushroom is cool enough in and of itself. But then you add the fact that these are essentially evil Pikmin zombies. That's quite the concept. It's like a crazy idea you would only see like 2 or 3 sequels into a franchise. Yeah, these are the evil zombie doppelganger Pikmin, and they're the main antagonists for Pikmin 4, The Quest for Peace. But no, here they are in Pikmin 1. There's not even any real fanfare, they're not on the box art, and the fact that you only see them in Pikmin 1 makes them feel even more special. Hopefully in the future we get a playable Pikmin design that's half as cool as these guys. Maybe in Pikmin 5, I don't know. The sand-belching Miral Slug is a cool design simply because of its oddly realistic textures. Many of these designs feel a bit cartoony with the bug-eyed ladybugs and goofy inflating frogs. The Miral Slug, on the other hand, there's something about the way its flabby skin wrinkles just so, and the way the texture shines a reflective sheen that looks almost slimy to the touch. It's something that I could see washed up on a beach somewhere, and I would have to exercise a lot of restraint not to try and poke it with a stick. It's not the biggest creature in the franchise, more on that one later, but it certainly leaves behind the biggest corpse. With other large bosses, they either disintegrate or only leave a small piece to carry back to the onion. But with this thing, you're left with the head, the tail, the whole damn thing, along with a giant watermelon and upchuck, and one of the most 2000s ass cell phone designs I've ever seen. It even moves more realistically when it's being dragged, the way that flabby flesh jiggles. This is of course assuming that you have enough Pikmin left after that battle to carry not only the corpse, but all of the important shit that it left behind. We're gonna need a bigger onion. Yeah, I know I talked about this guy before. Hell, the most viewed video on my channel is like a meme about the dude. But it's a boss that deserves to be talked about more, and it deserves some respect on its name when you're talking about it. Sporting a retractable firearm, yes, we're talking about a Pikmin game, this creature requires the player to run for cover and hide behind the nearest elevated surface in order to avoid the hellfire of bullets. I said it in the last video, but the Man-at-Legs really does embody the best and worst that Pikmin 2 has to offer. It's unfair, unforgiving, and just straight up out of pocket. But at the same time, it's also surprising, unique, and above all, memorable. Hell, this thing is burned into my brain. What's the point of a good boss if you don't remember it anyway? The design alone is a distinct combination of horrifying and badass. It's a giant cybernetic spider with a machine gun, and the way the underbelly opens up to reveal the gun showing some of the gooey, fleshy bits underneath. It's like there was a mix-up in the office one day and Nintendo accidentally programmed a Metroid Prime boss into their Pikmin game. It should also be noted that of all of the members of the Arachnorb family, these creatures have the most realistically spider-like legs. I mean, you can almost imagine one being pulled off and watching it spasm in place. It's creepy. This thing could give the Terminator arachnophobia. And now, thanks to Pikmin 2, every time I see a spider, I get Vietnam flashbacks. You can kind of tell at this point that most of the creatures I've talked about are either a weird bug or a weird fish. I've always been more interested in animals that are more scaly or slimy or insectoid, and Pikmin has me covered with a whole bunch of badass bugs. But there's such a thing as too much of a good thing, and if everything was just a weird bug or a weird reptile, then that would get stale. So when Pikmin 3 gave us an enemy design that is distinctly, decidedly mammalian, I couldn't help but step back and appreciate it. Sure, the Pikmin wiki describes the Bulborb as a mammalian in nature. It's technically a grub dog, but I always saw more of the grub than I did the dog. I don't see a mammal. I either see a weird frog-like ladybug or a weird lizard-like ladybug. The amp rat, on the other hand, that is a mammal. That is a hairy, warm-blooded, scurrying, scampering little rodent. Now don't think that just because it shares the same biological class as puppies and kittens that it's some traditionally cute design. It's an electrically charged rat, but this isn't Pikachu. It's weird, it's beady-eyed, it's scruffy looking. The face for some reason looks eerily similar to the red guy from Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. What's that guy's actual name again? What do you mean I got it right the first time? Like most elemental enemies, they're a cakewalk when you use the designated Pikmin to take them down, but otherwise the battle mechanics still feel unique. The ant brat is the only enemy to not only scatter but paralyze their prey before running over and chowing down. I love how rodent-like it eats, picking 2 Pikmin up at a time and nibbling on them like a hamster gnawing on carrots. I mean, it's only fitting considering where the Pikmin got their namesake. Watching this would almost be kinda cute if it weren't so horrific.